Dylan Borland is a U.S. Air Force geospatial intelligence specialist and imagery analyst who later worked under a multi-agency special access program with BAE Systems. Trained to interpret satellite, drone, and ISR data, he verified hundreds of strike targets and built a reputation as a skilled observer across multiple intelligence domains. Borland has testified under oath to Congress at the September 9th UAP hearing, the ICIG, Aero, and the DoD, providing what he says is firsthand knowledge of UAP crash recovery, reverse engineering, and advanced energy technologies. His unique mix of intelligence expertise and direct exposure are what make him one of the most significant UAP whistleblowers to date. And in episode 90 of the Weaponized podcast, Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp interviewed Dylan Borland, and it is packed with amazing statements. I thought we could take a look at a few of these statements today and break apart this interview. This is part one of a two-part interview, and in this first bit here that we're going to take a look at, Dylan tells us a little bit about his background, how he came to be in the Air Force, and just a little bit about who he is and how he acquired the skills and training that he has. So let's take a look at this, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
Offered me Air Battle Manager. At the time, I had no idea what that was. This Air Force officer qualification test for the Air Force to be active duty. Passed it. They offered me Air Battle Manager. At the time, I had no idea what that was. This is 2009 going into 2010. If you guys remember, the economy was in shambles. And I was like, I have no idea what this job is. The recruiter couldn't help me. So I was like, well, I got to find a place to live, start paying back student loans. So I decided to enlist as an imagery analyst, a one-in-one. They look at maps like these, photography, satellite, drone, manned aircraft, ISR, the whole kit and caboodle, IR, MSI, HSI, EO, you name it. If it's a picture coming from something up there, we're looking at it.
So you had to get a lot of training to know what you're looking at.
Tech school was about 6-7 months, and then I had gotten into what is conventionally known as the drone program, which has made news around the world time and time again for lethal action strikes. I had to go through additional training through there, about 3 months, and some on-the-job training, OJT.
Drone strikes meaning you're here in the States operating drones in theaters of operation around the world.
Yes. When I graduated tech school, I ended up at the 30th Intelligence Squadron, which is under the 480th and 497th wing. And while there, I got attached to
redacted.
So every single special forces unit I probably worked with, MARSOC, pararescue,
redacted.
SEALs, which is
redacted.
Whatever missions they were doing between pretty much 2010 until when I got out in 2013, I had my hand in. I told you guys before, I did the search and rescue for the SEALs and Marines who passed away in the helicopter accident, the ones that got bin Laden. I did Overwatch for the withdrawal of Iraq. That was my unit I was a part of. I was a part of those missions. And I have done some high-profile lethal action missions.
Extremely well-trained, extremely well-experienced, highly involved in some of the most sensitive military operations going on around the world at any given time. This is the guy at the top of my list for people that I want to hear from regarding what they've witnessed, what they've seen, either a UAP or any behind-the-scenes shenanigans that they claim are going on within the military or intelligence communities. This is the guy I want to hear from. But there's more to it than just the technical aspect of his training and background and experience. I want you to hear a little bit more. He goes further, and we get a sense of who the actual man is that is telling us all this. You know, what type of a person is he, which is, I think, extremely important. So let's go on and listen to the next minute or two of what Dylan has to say, and I think you're going to find it very enlightening.
So it was my job to determine who, what, when, where, why, how, and make the call on that is the person we are seeking and what is happening.
You make the call, you press the button, and somebody's dead.
I make the call, I relay that in certain capacities depending on who I work for, because I did this in a number of different ways, and each place I did it has a different technique to relay that information, but my call would go and then that would get approval and the button would be pushed, yes.
And when you push those buttons, are you thinking, I'm doing my duty, I'm protecting my country, fighting for the right cause, or do you start having second thoughts about it at some point?
That is such a convoluted answer, and the best way I can say it is this. I love my time in the Air Force because while I was in the Air Force, it was about bringing our buddies home. And that I worked for Five Eye. So I did special forces for Great Britain, special forces for Australia. Sorry, getting choked up a little bit. There's a major difference between doing it for good reasons and doing it for political reasons. So my time in the Air Force was good. I thought I did a great job. I think that's a great mission. I think that everything should be done through the DoD. And that gets into places that we really can't go. But yeah, there's always lingering questions.
This is at the core, I think, of the issue here. The type of person that we're dealing with. This is a guy who clearly is dedicated to the mission, dedicated to the sense of duty, honor, loyalty, patriotism that drives him forward and drove him into this career path in the beginning. And he finds himself up against a system that does not respect those same values, that in fact exploits those values to ends that we don't really understand or know. But Dylan touches on that in a little bit. It's pretty dark where it goes. But this is a guy who's entrusted with the command to target people and give the kill order to fire a Hellfire missile and or whatever, and take out a person or a group of people or a building full of people. He talks about the mental stress that causes drone operators and how drone operators have such enormous levels of depression and PTSD, and they have an enormous suicide problem. He talks about all the sort of mental strain that these people are under because of the type of detached work that they're doing that involves following these people in other countries from a drone, aerially watching them for days, weeks, however long the requirement is. And you get to learn who these people are, what their routines are. He talks about seeing them, go pick up their kids from school. They come home, then they know, he knows what time their brother-in-law shows up for dinner and when their friends are coming over to play. And like, this is a guy who clearly cares deeply about human beings and has a lot of conflict internally about the type of work that he's doing. And it's just gives him a sense of, there's a sense of morality that comes through in listening to him speak that I think is very human and very powerful. Let's go on to the next clip here. We're going to get into some more about the training in image analysis that he has gone through. Take a look.
And you've done that hundreds of times.
Unfortunately, probably yes.
At that point, you're not working for the Air Force anymore. You're working for somebody else. Can you say who that is, or you'd rather not?
When I was in the Air Force, I was working for the Air Force under
redacted.
So, and then we're getting ahead of ourselves, and this gets into other information. I did end up doing it for
an agency,
multi-agency special access program under BAE Systems, which you guys have a copy of my resume that is cleared, and you can put it up there. And to the people on film, you guys can probably figure out who it is.
Okay, so BAE Systems, really quick. Let's take a look here. BAE Systems is like the Lockheed or Northrop Grumman of the UK, and they have a American branch that does work over here, and it has something to do with the way the national security system treats these companies. It's long been rumored that BAE Systems is deeply, deeply involved in the UFO, UAP crash retrieval, recovery, and reverse engineering program all the way back to the very, very beginning. They do all kinds of stuff: battle space integration, electronics, operational support. I mean, all of the tech stuff that goes into warfighting, conflict, all the equipment, all of the satellite platforms. I mean, these guys are into all of it. This is BAE Systems. If you want to look into them more, this is who they are. You can take a look at their website, baesystems.com, and you can dig around and see what you can find. But he talks a little bit more at length. This is a collaboration they've got going on with Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. Lockheed Martin and BAE Systems have announced a strategic partnership to develop a range of uncrewed autonomous air systems. The collaboration will see their advanced research and development divisions, Lockheed Martin Skunk Works and BAE Systems Falcon Works, work together on a common design that will be rapidly deployable and modular to deliver a range of effects, including destructive capabilities. Let's take a look. Well, I don't know what this video is supposed to be showing me, but it is interesting. So apparently this thing just puts out warbly lines in all directions. $30 billion. Drawing on both organizations' rapid design, prototyping, and advanced manufacturing expertise, the collaboration will focus on producing a cost-effective and easily deployable system with multiple launch options. It will initially focus on delivering an electronic warfare and attack capability that would deliver disruptive capabilities and could complement and enhance the survivability of current crewed combat aircraft. So that's just a little bit about BAE Systems and what they're up to. Let's go back to the interview with Dylan, and we'll listen on for a few more minutes.
I just didn't want to leave that without making it clear. Air Force was one thing. You're doing things to protect our troops on the ground and go after bad guys.
100%.
And then it transforms into something else that causes you considerable emotional grief. And you're still dealing with it.
I will probably deal with it the rest of my life. It's also why I'm in this situation I'm in, because I do not trust the people I did it for.
At what point did you get your master's in national security?
So I can get that. I'll go back to imagery real fast and fill in that for you guys. So when I came through tech school in 2010, there was not sensor ops. And the sensor op is a
redacted.
But because the FMV program, that's what it's called, that is an imagery-oriented mission, so they would pull imagery analysts for it.
FMV, is that full motion
video? Yep. So I had to go through imagery analysis tech school. So MSI, HSI, EO, IR, satellite, drone, manned aircraft, you name it. If it is in the world of imagery for our government, I had to go through that tech school. So looking at nuclear power plants, order of battle for air, ground, naval, basically whatever can come across the desk in a picture, we had to go through tech school for it. And then when we went through there, depending on where you ended up, some of us were pulled into the drone program.
The image analyst, meaning you can see everything. So let's say there's a home, there's a family lives in a home. One of them's a suspected terrorist or terrorist leader. You can see who's cooking dinner, who's coming in and out. What kinds of things can you determine?
It depends on how long you're looking at them. It depends on what you're shooting with. It depends on what the tasking is. A lot of times I'm working with SIGINT guys, human guys. I mean, we're all kind of in a room together. We know a little bit about what everybody does, and you kind of pick up a little here and there.
You convey information to the
redacted
who presses the button. But can you convey how? Do you give them context? Do you say, all right, this is how many people are in this building? Or what kind of
that's part of the job. I mean, it depends on how you're looking at it. How many people are in a vehicle? How many people are in the home? How many children are around? How long had they driven? It just depends.
So, for example, you convey something like this. All right, there's a vehicle. There's a bad guy who's driving that vehicle, but also in it is a wife and 3 kids. Do you convey that and let them make a decision?
Yeah. Yep. And that decision on what to do with that is not mine to make.
Ooh, that's cold. I couldn't do it. Think about the psychological strain and stress of knowing that, you're sitting in in an air-conditioned office or shipping container, set up like a little drone video game room, and you're flying, operating this drone, or maybe you're observing someone else who's doing it, you're supervising, you're watching people all the way around the world do their normal day-to-day things, like normal things to get up, go to school, come home, go to the store, go outside, play soccer, whatever. And you don't know the history. You don't know the situation. You don't know the other intelligence surrounding these people. You just don't know anything about why they are being watched, why they're the target. I'm assuming. I mean, maybe you know something, but my guess is that you know what you need to know to complete the mission, right? And so you're watching this unfold over days, weeks, possibly months or more. And in a sense, getting to know these people who have no idea that they're being watched by someone back in the States. And then you have to basically deliver the order to take out a person or people without really understanding the context of what's going on other than what's necessary to complete the task that you have. And then you get to go home and make a sandwich, have a beer, watch some TV, maybe watch a little night shift on YouTube. Humans aren't wired to do that. That's not healthy. That's awful. I can't imagine what these people go through. Not to say nothing about the people around the world who have been terrorized by drones for their entire lives. Their children who are have grown into adulthood and have spent their entire childhoods under the watchful eye of American military drones. So I think that's where he makes that distinction between there's the aspect of the job that is duty, honor, service, country, loyalty, bringing your buddies home from conflict, getting them home safely to their families. And then there's the political side of it, which is why the fuck are we over wherever it is that we're at? What are we doing? Who's making the decisions? Who's, and you're just a cog in that machine. I don't know. That's hard. I have a hard time with that. And it's interesting to see him struggle with the morality of that because it is a sign of humanity. It's a sign that he's one of us. He's a regular human being. He's one of the good guys. This is a real person with real feelings who understands the situation is larger than any one person or group, that this is an important thing that people need to know about. And that's why it's not just the technical expertise, the fact that he went to all these tech schools, he got all this training. It's that it's coming from a place of real heart. And this is spiritual warfare shit. This is like real, you've got to be a spiritual warrior to walk a path like this. And I don't envy his situation at all. But you can see the weight of the stress on him. Let's go on to the next clip. And we're going to have him talk about the sighting that he had. So he's working with these guys. They work 12-hour shifts, 12 hours on, 12 hours off. They do 4 days on, 3 days off, or 3 days on, 4 days off, depending. And he's one of the older guys in his unit, I guess. And so he tells the other guys that he's with who are younger, who have families and kids. He doesn't have family and kids. So he says, look, I'll take the first night shift, and you guys go home to your families, have dinner, spend time with them, and then you guys can come in and we'll rotate out. So he leaves to go back to the barracks where he stays, and he's got to be on call, basically. So he's available to go back to the ops center if he needs to. And this is where the sighting actually takes place. So we're going to take a look at this clip, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
So this kind of gets into how I got into all of this mess. So
redacted.
Summer of 2012, the way they do operations stateside in that capacity is it's 12-hour shifts. So
redacted.
So 4 days on, 3 days off, 3 days on, 4 days off. It's a modified version. Summer of 2012, we were weather down. It's called WX. And when we were weather down doing ops, we would do a split shift for the 12-hour shift. So I was an older airman. All my NCOs and some of the officers knew I had my degree, knew I could have been an officer. So at E4, I'm basically kind of there in charge, but not in charge. Like Dylan's got it. So I would tell everybody, all the sergeants, everybody, look, go home to your families, eat dinner, go hang out with them. It's 7 o'clock at night. I live in the barracks. I have no kids. I'm not married. So I would do the first 6 hours. So that was from 7 o'clock at night till 1 in the morning. And then half of us would work the first half of that 12-hour shift, and then we would rotate, and the second half would come in and work the second half. So summer of 2012, I worked the first half. We're weather down, nothing's happening. You're on call. You got to stay awake to be able to come back to the ops floor. And I drive back to my barracks room, and
Redacted.
and you come up the JAG office, the gym, and then you would make a right going to my barracks. So I leave the ops floor 1:15 in the morning, drive past all this, go back home, get to my barracks room, change out my uniform, grab my cigarettes, grab my phone, go outside, 1:30, 1:45 in the morning, and I go to smoke a cigarette in the gazebo right next to my barracks room, these old, decrepit barracks. So I go in the gazebo and I'm sitting there and I'm smoking a cigarette. I'm on the phone with my buddy, who we've talked about. And I'm looking at the flight line because that's where the entry point is to the gazebo. And the entry point where you walk in faces the flight line and faces the NASA hangar behind it. So from where I'm sitting, it's 3 blocks, 4 blocks up, the JAG office, the gym, the flight line, the NASA hangar. On my phone, smoking a cigarette, and I see a white light pop up from the NASA hangar. Comes up about 100 feet and stops. I know it was the NASA hangar because I have
Redacted.
at 1:32 in the morning on a weeknight. It was a Tuesday, Wednesday night. I am positive it came from there because I've,
Redacted.
and in my mind, I think, oh, weather balloon test. You're testing some,
Redacted.
no big deal. So this white light pops up and stops 100 feet. I light my cigarette. I finish my cigarettes about 6-7 minutes after. That's about how long it takes to smoke a cigarette. And I start walking towards the flight line because I'm on call. I have to go back to the ops floor if the weather clears. And at night, I would walk the track because I have to stay awake. I never rotated to days. I listen to music or podcasts, whatever, and just walk the track, not get
Night
hassled,
shift.
stay out of the road. I start walking up to where this light is hovering above the NASA hangar. And I get about 2-3 blocks in, and on the right is the auto body shop. So they had garages at Langley Air Force Base where you could pull your car in and pull the drain plugs and oil changes, all that. As I'm walking up towards the light to go to the truck on my left, the white light flies across the flight line to me, and it flies right across the flight line to me. And as it flies, it's 100 to 150 foot equilateral triangle appears right over me, 100 feet above me, 100 feet in front of me. The triangle had black metallic flake paint. I'm a car guy, and it looked like that expensive, like classic look, like you could see the light glisten off of it. Equilateral triangle, I could only see the bottom and angles. It was a 90-degree right angle all around. I could not see the top of it. There were 4 lights, one smaller light on each corner, and then a larger second light, which was 2 to 3 times the size of the corner lights. And in my estimation, it was about the size of a small size sedan. So like a Nissan SER Sentra, Nissan Altima, that was at the center. All of them were white. What was odd though, is that when I'm looking at it, the way I have tried to describe it, and words cannot describe it because it's so wild seeing, is imagine taking a picture of the James Webb telescope where all those colors of galaxies are out there. Imagine those colors, make them yellow, gold, put them on top of the aircraft and make it a lava lamp because the whole outside had this yellow transparent glow coming all around the craft and it was pulsating. So this thing flies to me, it's a light. All of a sudden, while it's flying to me, this triangle appears. I can't tell you if it's active camouflage. I cannot tell you if it manifested around it. The only thing I can tell you is that light came and a triangle appeared around it. My cell phone gets incredibly hot and completely freezes and shuts down. I'm under it, and the first thought in my mind is literally, okay, so this is real too. Like, I've been in,
Redacted.
I've had access to things, and I'm like, okay, another thing that's real.
Hours, meaning hours.
I would initially suspect so. I mean, it was on the base, due to things that I found out, having been in government for long enough and knowing certain truths and having been through the whistleblower process and understanding questions and why they're asked and how they're asked. I am now of the opinion that what I saw was not ours, but this gets into a troubling precedent, which is if that one wasn't ours, then why?
Redacted.
But I'm under it. It's probably in front of me 3-5 minutes, and I'm just looking at it. There is no sound. There is nothing. It is just hovering there, and it's just pulsating above me, right above the JAG office and the gym.
Did it seem to be reacting to you because you'd seen it, or?
I don't know. You know, that is one of the questions, one of many questions that I have as a quote unquote experiencer, as a whistleblower, as a veteran, as somebody who has been in close proximity to these, as somebody who has had their life destroyed over this. That is one of the questions I would love to know, because it's one of the things that keeps me up at night, which is why did it fly across the base to me?
You had said before you've seen these balloons come out of the NASA facility. They weren't glowing.
It would be like a light, you know.
Like a balloon.
Yes, but this one was glowing, and it seemed to have come out of that same spot. Or do you know it came out of there?
What I am 100% sure of, I cannot tell you it came out of the hangar. I am 100% sure it came from that hangar. There is no doubt in my mind it was at that hangar.
Meaning it came out of the hangar, meaning it was housed there, or it had been hovering there?
Could have been hovering there. It could have been on the ground outside of it. It could have come out from it. I cannot tell you because I didn't see it, but I know it came from that hangar.
And it shot off at the end.
Yeah, so I first see the light. I finish my cigarette, 7-8 minutes. I walk up. This thing flies to me. Triangle appears. I'm under it, 3 to 5 minutes. And all of a sudden, the center light flashes. It flashes 2 to 3 times. It's just this quick, like almost if you plug a electrical outlet in the wall, you know, that spark electricity. It does that, and that thing shoots off to commercial air jet level. In my aero testimony, I said 20 to 30,000 feet. I estimate commercial aircraft level because I've seen commercial aircraft flying around the base. That's usually what they cruise at. And as it goes off, it gets to that flight level in seconds, like 3 seconds, easy. And at that moment, I feel static electricity all over my body. And I immediately smell a rainstorm, lightning storm, like a strong lightning thunderstorm. That smell you smell after there's just lightning and just horrific, beautiful thunderstorm. I smell that static electricity, still no noise, and it gets up to the flight level. My phone, I'm able to reset, and it gets up there, and the only light I could see is the center light. So I couldn't see the corner lights, just the center light. If I did not witness it take off, that would have looked like a star. Try to get my phone reset. I get it reset. I want to take a picture of it. I can't make out anything. And I kick myself to this day because I'm looking at my phone, and I remember looking at it. I'm like, man, should I keep this? And I'm like, no one's ever going to believe it. You can't see anything. And I was like, yeah, but the date and time are in there. I'm an idiot and I erased it. So it gets up to that flight level, it pauses, and it's there, and I'm watching it. And after a few minutes, it goes due east out over the bay, out into the Atlantic Ocean. And I made the point to make sure, because I know this is real, I know this exists, I've experienced it, and I came forward out of concern for people's safety, which is the only reason I came out of the shadows, because of what was done to me and what I know is true. I made the point to make sure that everyone I told is that did not go to Norfolk, which is where the naval station is. That didn't go up north towards the Marine station. That didn't go over the...
Redacted.
That went due east out over the ocean. And I just watched this thing kind of trailer off like a satellite out over the ocean.
Okay, so triangular craft, equilateral triangle, 150 feet on a side, 100 feet in front of him, more or less, about 100 feet up in the air, and 150 feet per side. He can only see the bottom of it. There are 4 lights. Star Trek people, 4 lights, one on each corner and one in the middle, the size of a sedan. And he says that it's covered in this warbly sort of orange gold light that looks like a lava lamp displaying the images you would see in the James Webb Space Telescope, all sort of warbling around the craft. Many, many questions. Now, the first question I have is what he's describing. It sounds like the TR-3B or the Black Manta. This is a craft that's been rumored forever. We've heard a lot of different types of craft mentioned over the years, but one that consistently comes up again and again is this black triangle. And this was featured in a patent. This is U.S. Patent 20060145019A1, filed by John St. Clair in 2004. That just sort of lays out the design. And if you type in TR-3B Black Manta into Google, you'll get back a ton of images that look something like this. But more or less, this is what he's describing. Interestingly, this picture on the bottom right here was featured in a presentation that Amy Eskridge did in Huntsville, Alabama, for a meeting of scientists who are interested in anti-gravity research. And that's just an interesting sidebar. He talks about this thing taking off and going up into the sky, and how it leaves this smell of ozone, like a thunderstorm smell everywhere after it's gone. And it makes me wonder if, he says there's no sound, absolutely silent. So my question is this thing using some extremely high energy, high voltage system that is somehow ionizing the air all around the craft, that can also interfere with his cell phone? He says his cell phone gets really hot and he has to, and then it powers off. And then when this craft leaves, it would leave this ionized atmosphere around it, this ozone smell. So if there's a envelope around the craft of extremely high energy, or if the skin of the craft is extremely highly charged for one reason or another, I'm not an engineer or a physicist. I'm just guessing here. I'm just spitballing, but that might cause a plasma to form around the exterior of the craft. No. And if you could see that, it would look like like an orange sort of lava lamp. Well, I guess that's what, he's describing it as yellowish orange. So I guess the question then is, does the color of the light coming off of the craft indicate something about the nature of the craft's operation? The wavelength of light coming off of it, what could we gather from that? Very interesting. He says it comes from a NASA hangar, but he can't say for sure whether it came out of the hangar or just appeared near the hangar and then shot up in the sky. That's an interesting data point. Fascinating story. In fact, when he first said this, he talked about it at the September 9th UAP hearings, and I was in the room. Xander and I were in the room for that. And as he was talking about it, it was impressive in the moment, but to hear him describe it again in this interview with added context just takes it to a whole nother level. Very, very interesting stuff. We're going to go on and look at one more clip, and then we'll come back and wrap up. But let's take a look at the last clip here, and then we'll come talk about it.
What do you do at the time, though? Is there a process that you would follow for something like that? Hey, tell your commanding officer, or file a written report, or what?
So there's no process at all. I told a couple of my friends, and there was a couple sergeants who had heard me talking one night. And, I've talked with a mutual friend who testified under oath about this. One of them actually had told me because I was getting medically discharged at the time, he had said, Dylan, you never talk about this. And I was like, funny, man. I was like, what's it doing over our base? Anybody wants to talk to me, you have security forces, OSI, I have my clearances. Like, he's like, no, trust me, don't talk about it. I thought it was a joke. Like, I'm like, you're not going to go and test aircraft in the middle of the night on Langley Air Force Base. You're like, what? Like, apparently he was right, though. Hindsight's 2020, but yeah.
You work for the Air Force. You told us what you did, and then you're working for someone else. At the time you saw this thing at Langley, it's an Air Force base, but you're not working for the Air Force at that time.
At that point, I was working for the Air Force.
Later, you work for somebody else, and we've asked you a couple of times, do you not want to say who you work for?
I cannot say it because as of this time right now, I understand that information is classified and it's not allowed out there. I can say it's a multi-agency special access program under BAE, British Aerospace Engineering Systems.
So
multi-agency special access program under BAE Systems. I wonder, now, I don't know. I wonder, though, if that means that BAE Systems is contracting out American military assets to use in their own private work. If you're part of an SAP that's operating under a company like BAE, do you slip outside of the chain of command or the normal chain of command? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, does that create a situation where you could do legally dubious things or things that are sort of off the books that won't make it on the record anywhere because it's all done under contract for a private company? I wonder. He goes into a little bit more detail about some of the stuff that was done to him to silence him later, and it definitely sounds like that has something to do with it. But that's not even the most exciting claim. Out of everything you've seen so far, we're going to take a look at his biggest claim in the entire video, and it sets up part two so beautifully well. So let's take a quick look, and then we'll wrap up.
So you have direct knowledge of UAP being actual craft of unknown or non-human origin?
I have direct first-hand knowledge and exposure to crash recovery, reverse engineering, as well as the most important piece of technology on the planet, and it's not the craft themselves.
Bam! It's not the craft themselves, it's the energy source. It's the energy source. That's what Jeremy chimes in with. It's the energy source, and Dylan goes on to say, well, you can make your own judgments about that. But that has been the rumor forever. That is at the heart of this whole thing. It's the energy source. It's an almost limitless source of energy that can power these craft to do extraordinary things that use levels of power that are almost unimaginable, at least according to the calculations that have been made by physicists who have looked at this stuff. Such a power source could revolutionize the way that we do business here on Earth, and it would completely upend the existing framework for how everything is done. The petrodollar, our whole global economy, our whole global supply chain would be impacted. It's an extremely powerful technology that seemed even more disruptive than the knowledge that there are other intelligent life forms out there. Because if we can recreate it, then we have something that is potentially a horrifying weapon or the answer to all of our problems here on this planet, and that might open the door to ways that we can start solving some of the ecological issues, the biosphere collapse, runaway climate change, all kinds of other things. So if that is the case, and which we were speculating in DC when I was visiting for the hearing, I was talking with a group of people, and we were just kicking around these ideas regarding energy sources. And one thing just kept coming up. It was like, what if Bob Lazar was right? Okay. Borland says at the end of the September 9th hearing, he said, I would look into Bob Lazar's story because Bob Lazar knows a lot about what's going on. He kind of like, I'm paraphrasing, but this is sort of the idea. And Bob Lazar, what was among all of the claims that he made, what did he say about the power source of the craft? Do you remember? Well, if you don't, I'll tell you. He said the craft was powered by a small piece of something called element 115. And I don't know exactly how big he described that as being in the room when you're actually sitting next to it or looking at it, but I imagine it's pretty small, like, the size of an AirPods case maybe. But a single piece of this stuff inside of a reactor that, to see Bob Lazar's model of it, looks like a Italian coffee maker of some kind. But this is what powers the craft. Now, if that's true, and we can't duplicate element 115 here on Earth, we can make it, but we can't make enough of it to make a difference. And we can't get it because there's no source of element 115 unless you are shooting down UFOs and you're recovering the element 115. And if that's what it is, if that's what it turns out to be, then that might just be the thread that ties this whole thing together, and it might explain why we're shooting them down so goddamn always. Because it's not, and it also might explain why there's a race. There's a race on, not only to reverse engineer and apply the technologies gleaned from that, but to also gather as much element 115 as you can from as many sources as possible so that you could stockpile this stuff. And if the United States and Chinese and Russians and whoever else are competing to get their hands on as much E115 as possible, then that is a very interesting global dynamic. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know. Leave a comment. Leave 2 comments. Give this video a thumbs up. Hit that like button. Don't forget to share. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing. It doesn't cost a dime. It only takes a moment. And it really, truly is the best way to help us keep doing what it is that we're doing. And if you really want to be cool, if you want to go the extra mile, visit us at teamnightshift.com. You can pick up a piece of our outstanding merch. You can join Team Night Shift just by wearing the Night Shift colors, the black and yellow, and it will make you stand out. Big conversation starter, our Night Shift shirts. And if you want to help us out even more, you can also become a member of the YouTube channel, and you can kick in a few bucks a month. That helps us offset the cost of doing this show. That's it for me. Thank you for watching. I will see you again soon. Until then, keep looking up, everybody.
The amount of power we're dealing with is astronomical. To affect gravity like this equipment does takes huge amounts of power. The power levels are like I said, astronomical.